Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Tuesday, August 18th Board of Education meeting. August meeting, we have all 7 of our trustees present. We always start our meeting with a pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, we do not have any recognitions today
That's correct.
and no additions and deletions.
That is correct as well.
We do have one public comment on agenda item. Mr. Walter Cook would like to speak on enrollment. Well, enrollment is on the agenda, so
You can wait to the end.
you can wait till then if you like. Okay, all right, you can wait till then.
Do it both together.
I know yours is not an agenda item, so that's at the end.
Shouldn't be here, that's why.
Yeah, that's what I'm just trying.
We'll save both for you.
We'll save both for the end then. Thank you. All right, so our next topic is our general consent agenda. In our general consent agenda, we have minutes of the July 22nd, 2026 Board of Education meeting, our treasurer's report for June 2026, IAE School of Choice, section 105C, 9th grade for 2027-2028 school year, and reschedule of September 15, 2026 board meeting to September 22nd, 2026. Have a resolution, please.
I got it.
Mr. Hoft,
Be it therefore resolved that the Troy Board of Education take action to approve items A through D on the consent agenda.
support. All right, moved by Mr. Hoft, supported by Dr. Philippart. Any questions or comments on that? Seeing none, all those in favor of the resolution, please say yes.
Yes.
Those who oppose, say no. Resolution passes 7-0. Right, next, do we have any personnel
There's none this evening,
and curriculum?
none as well.
All right, we do have 2 items on our business agenda. One is the Troy Career Center lease consideration. The first one, 8A. Dan, would you like to, Mr. Trudeau?
Thank you and good evening, board. So agenda item 8A relates to the Troy Career Center lease. So for those of you that may not fully understand the structure, that's Michigan Works. We call it the Troy Career Center. That's the actual fund name. So this is a partnership we have with Oakland County and the state of Michigan. There's federal funding involved that kind of flows through the county and then in turn to Michigan Works. But we are the fiduciary agent for those funds, and then we're kind of a pass-through more or less. So as part of their operations, they lease a building about every 5 years. They lease, and so they were coming due for a renewal on a lease space. In some cases, they may move facilities. In this case, the only bid received out of sending it to 6 different prospective landlords was the same landlord that they're in currently. So fortunately, they don't have to move or incur any of those additional costs, which would be grant funded through their grant funds, just as this lease payment is through their grant funds as well. So in this case, you can see with the documents that were uploaded to board docs, they did send those out to about 6 different vendors with certain specifications that they were looking for. The only response that was received was through L. Mason Capitani, which is located over here on Long Lake. That's their headquarters, but the actual facility is off of Stevenson Highway. That's one of the buildings that they need. So we also distribute this on the state's Sigma website, where it does get sent out to about 171 different prospective individuals that would be interested based on what the criteria that they select on the state's bid site. So enough coverage to meet all the compliance requirements for this lease opportunity. So unfortunately for them, they get to stay where they've been for the last 5 years as well. So the total cost was in the board docs. Let me pull that up real quick. I think it's just over $100,000 a year.
4,900 for this year.
So that's a pretty standard rate. They do work with a few different real estate agents in the market just to make sure that what they're getting in terms of pricing is in line with market expectations as well. So there's multiple checkpoints just to make sure they're spending those grant dollars accordingly.
And the grant dollars fully covered the
Yes,
cost?
100%, yeah.
For general public say, could you explain in one or two sentences what Troy Career Center does?
So they receive funds essentially through the state of Michigan and through the federal government that helps individuals find work in the workplace. So they're bringing in people that maybe have been laid off or people that are fresh out of a trade school. And they pair them with employers in the region and then they essentially. So we have a lot of opportunities as well with high school students in the surrounding area, not just the Troy School District, but in the city of Troy as well. So those students are also partnering with them. Last summer, they actually placed some students over with our Project Search. They placed them in Henry Ford for an opportunity over the summer. So it was a 40-hour internship basically. So there's various opportunities, but the goal ultimately is to find those with employment. Some individuals may not have transportation, so they may actually help provide some assistance if you qualify to actually have assistance towards a car payment, and then that could in turn lead you to getting a job and then securing your own funds, and then at some point paying for your own vehicle as well. So it's a really great program. It's a over 50-year partnership with the district. I know we as a district kind of assessed internally what our involvement directly is, and we've had a lot of good positive feedback, I would say, from them in terms of trying to outsource more of the work that we have to do, because we technically employ all of the people that come through that program. Even though it's not technically, they're through our payroll, but they're not one of our employees in one of our school buildings. So we don't have to treat it fully like we would a traditional employee. But they've been very open to making some changes in how we run things to streamline it, just to take some of that burden off of us. So as a district, what do we get out of it? We do get indirect costs essentially through that program. So for us, it's about $80,000 a year that we get to cover some of the costs internally. And out of that, we have actually worked with them to try to make sure we're charging enough costs outside of our manpower into that grant as well. So audit costs, fees, any types of posting fees. We're making sure that we're sending to them and communicating with them to get those costs covered under the grant outside of that indirect cost rate. So,
Okay.
Yep.
And 100% of their cost is covered by federal government.
Yep. So anytime we do a budget update, you'll see the Troy Career Center Fund. It's always net zero. So revenues always equals expenditure. So
Wonderful. All right. Okay, we are asked to consider the Troy Career Center lease. May I have a resolution, please? Resolution.
Be it therefore resolved that the bid for a 5-year lease be awarded to L. Mason Capitani according to the bid response, and that authorization be given to the superintendent or his designee to execute the lease agreement.
Support.
All right, moved by Mr. Leach, supported by Mrs. Zandler. I'm sorry. Any questions or comments regarding this? Seeing none, all those in favor of the resolution, please say yes.
Yes.
Those who oppose, say no. Okay, resolution passes, 7-0. Okay, the next on the agenda is the budget reduction update. I'm assuming that's just a report and we don't have to vote on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So I'd asked Dan to put together some information, as we've shared with the board. He and Kyle have been working through the savings that we anticipate through the severance agreement, the separation agreement. So they've been working through, as we've hired new staff that has gone out, reconciling that with new staff that have been hired, and trying to compile as best we can at this point the savings associated with that and where that puts us. So Dan's got a pretty good handle at this point. There will still be a few more staff that are hired yet before the start of this year. We've got another week. There's at least one opening right now that we will be looking to fill internally. And then what other additional surprises may occur between now and next Tuesday. But from a staffing standpoint, we're in pretty good shape right now.
Yep. So these are hot off the press. So I want to modify some of the layout and then we'll upload these to the board docs as well. But if you want to pass those around, this one. And then I'll project obviously for those in the audience here as well.
There's just like one page.
Yeah, just one page and then one page over here. So.
It's the same one, right? Or is it a different one? Oh, different one. Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna put this stuff in here right now.
Well, or is it?
You set it in here, so.
Okay,
Learning as we go. Learning
yeah,
as we go.
learning.
Right.
It's summer of learning, always happens.
Dan can't figure it out then.
Yeah.
We're in trouble.
I know that one doesn't work for sure, but this one will make work.
As long as we have these two, that's, people can see no matter what.
I just want to make you guys wait a little bit before you on this.
That's it. Just looking through.
See a cable hanging though, so that's better.
Are you projecting this in May? Are you projecting this out?
I'll just swap it down if I can get to the other one here. What's this question? And I'll just plug it in, right?
Yes. Tether, physical.
This one, it might be more successful. You have
Yeah.
this.
I'll just talk loud from over there.
Okay.
We can make copies if we want. So let me just go through this for you guys for right now.
Mhm.
So if we look at, give the colorful one first.
Yes.
So let's start with that one. So what this is it's just a simple overview. So what we did is we started going through, essentially, we have our list of reductions, right? We're targeting a $12 million number. We started out a little bit above that. I would say it was around 12.1 million. And then we were working our way back as we kind of went through all the different sections, and I think we landed about 11.3 million, is where we settled. We did add a couple of TCs back, for special ed. We did add a couple other sections that were required. A couple math specialists were added back as well, as part of our just scheduling in general, when we started looking at caseloads a little bit more in depth. And so looking at those numbers, knowing that we were slightly above or slightly below that 12 million mark, around 11.2. What I wanted to do was really just look in totality and just say, okay, how many people have exited the district and what was the cost of those exits? So what you'll see is the total annual costs eliminated. It's kind of like that little box there on the lower right of $12.8 million. So that was the total cost of 121 individuals leaving the district. So out of that 121, 85 were buyouts. And then the rest were just ordinary resignations of those that maybe weren't fully eligible for the buyout, but they just left the district for one reason or another.
Oh, we have that too.
Yeah, so we had about 35 of those, so 121 total departures from the district over the summer. And then I wanted to look at what was the total cost now that I'm going to incur for a buyout. So in total, over 5 years, it's about $6.5 million of total buyout. That equates to about $1.3 million annually
Okay.
that we're gonna have to pay in the form of an invoice to pay those actual payments to those staff to the buyout. Then I wanted to look at replacement staff. So I looked in totality, how many have we actually hired to date? And that number was 56. So for us, that's $2.7 million of added salary back, and then another just over $1 million for actual benefits relating to those salaries. So in total, my savings amount for payroll purposes right now is estimated at $7.7 million. So now we look at our reduction list of $11.2 million and say, okay, of that amount, what amount is not payroll related? What remains in terms of contracted services or other purchases? If we have purchase services in the form of subscriptions or softwares, professional development, and then also looking at operational costs, maybe we have some reductions in our budget or shifting things over to sinking fund. That total of $4.18 million remaining. So when you add those both together, the grand total equals about $11.9 million of actual reductions. So from the perspective of our list being at about 11.1 or 11.2 million, we came in about $700,000 higher on the buyout than we had originally budgeted. But we also, as we dug in a little bit deeper and started looking at specific grade level reductions and making sure that we were in line with our list, we did discover that there were a number of I'll say section reductions that actually stemmed from staffing reduction last school year. So we had a lot of positions that were vacated mid-year or in the fall, and we just said, instead of hiring, knowing where we were, we're putting a long-term sub in that classroom. So we didn't hire a staff member. So a lot of those costs were still fully budgeted for, even though we had a contracted sub in that classroom. So when we get to this next page here in a minute, you'll see that our audit, which is ongoing, we just started yesterday, we're gonna tentatively, based on what we can tell right now, come in a couple million better for the good. And so some of the savings that we had as part of that 12 million were actually saved last fiscal year instead of this upcoming fiscal year. Because those planned reductions for this school year were actually, they started last year when that staff member left the district. So it's not always as clean cut as we had hoped, which why it takes some time to go through this, but ultimately that's what we saw. So really the savings is probably over 12, I would bet around 12.2, 12.3 million in grand total. So from a buyout perspective, we probably came in about $1 million higher, I would say, than what was initially budgeted as part of our reduction. So what does that mean going forward now? So if you pull up this other document here, and again, we will post these online for you guys as well.
Dan, before we go, quick question, the 35 that are ineligible, what makes somebody ineligible for the buyout?
If they didn't have the years of service.
Okay, so there's a
Yeah,
minimum.
they may have just taken another job in another district. A lot of staff may have moved. So there's ordinary resignations that we would get outside of a buyout.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So kind of looking at more of a long-term effect. So again, I put draft on it this time. That way, both the community and you guys know this is draft. We are ongoing in an audit, but preliminarily looking at where our audit is. I mean, we are 98% of the way there in terms of entries. There's going to be minimal entries made as part of any audit, but preliminarily, you'll see here just over a $3 million use of fund balance. We were projecting about a $5.4 million. So the goal is always to come in better. And there were a lot of costs that were still budgeted for that we started identifying as just vacancies mid-year that we replaced with a long-term sub, which was strategic. We wanted to make sure we weren't filling things unnecessarily if we had the opportunity to vacate that position. So looking at just over a $3 million use of fund balance, we're targeting just above 15%. With our audit, which is good. We wanna hit that 15% mark.
How does that compare to our last budget?
5.4 million is
So
the,
we were thinking we would use 5.4 million from fund balance and we saved 2 million.
Yeah.
Okay.
so usually if you can come in within up 1 to 1.5, maybe even 2% of your total expenditures,
Mhm.
that's the goal. So in this case, we'll be right around that 1.5% mark. And then jumping into next year, so as we talk about the 12 million, the 11.925 million that we're gonna actually project to net. I plugged in 12 million just for modeling purposes, but you can see here, the revenues, that's based on the actual revenues that the state has passed. Again, those will be tweaked a little bit as they start issuing actual allocations. But then looking at expenditures, I can now take our expenditures from our audit, project out the reductions that we have that we just went over, and then adding back any known increases that we have for staff compensation. So using those numbers, that is projecting us out at a slight gain for the year, which is good. We wanted to start righting that ship.
Mhm.
And then that'll kind of hover us around that 15 to 16% mark over the next few years. Where I think the biggest thing to note on here is because our audit is coming in a little bit better and we were slightly above our target overall on the reductions. While also actually adding back some of the positions, I think that we heard from the board and the community and from staff at the building level. We were looking at between $7 and $8 million of reductions per year over the next 2 years. And now
Now-
we can start to lower that closer to that 4 to 4.5 mark. And so obviously every year we're going to continue to update these models. But our goal is for the fall update or fall budget amendment, I should say, the first amendment. We're gonna go through and we're gonna calculate everything exactly after we've fully onboarded everyone. We're gonna go through and we're gonna actually project out the increases based on the new staffing levels. We also have contracts that have been signed and secured for the next few years, so we'll be able to use those contracts as well. So that's gonna really start to hone in on some of these projection numbers as we go into the later part of the fall and then start having those conversations about staffing again as well. So all things considered, I think it's a win for us to come in, obviously, above that $5.4 million use of fund balance. And then let those savings, so to speak, roll into the next year, which helps offset some future costs as well. So, that 12 million, I think Dr. Macheski will attest to the amount of work that not only did our team, but teams all across this district put into that, but it's a sizable reduction to make. I mean, I don't want to underscore, tying a buyout in at the same time, trying to avoid layoffs like that, you're thinning or you're needling a very thin thread on that. So kudos to the whole team in the district and the board support for us, going down that road. So our plan going forward is to obviously keep updating these future reduction amounts as we get more actual information coming in, with the hope that we can continue to push that number down as well. So, and some of these future numbers here, the 4.5 million, I'm backing out the need to transfer some dollars from the other funds as well. So we do have some flexibility with those funds, if we need it in the futures too.
Quick question. The state has allocated some additional multipliers for the special needs as well as the ELL kids. Is that included in this?
Yep, so that 195 million you see for 26, 27,
Uh-huh.
that reflects the state's increase. So for 31A at risk and section 41 bilingual, the
Okay,
state increased at 20%.
right, that's what.
So we were budgeting around a 6% increase based on all the proposals.
Mhm,
And then they came in and reweighted everything.
correct.
So they wanted to make kind of a one-time correction to say, okay, we're bumping it up 20%, but then we're now gonna be able to go through and give just the same increase each year that we give to the base foundation.
Mhm.
So
So what were your assumptions for 27, 28, 28, 29 in terms of state funding? Obviously, you've put in our projections for enrollment.
Yeah.
What did you assume just?
so that's the 250 per pupil you'll see at the top. So that's your per pupil increase. So like for this school year coming that we're starting right now,
Gotcha.
it was 250 a pupil. So I kept that flat
Okay.
from the state's end. So
I want to also note that the savings that Dan highlighted on the other page referenced, we returned, 2 of the teacher consultants back that we had identified for reduction. And that also reflects some additional secretarial support that we're gonna return back. after we've reviewed, had conversation, there's some support that we're gonna return back to the elementary level.
Okay.
So
What is
that's
that?
reflected in that as well.
What does that bring our secretarial count at each elementary? Do we want to do?
We're still working on exactly what that's gonna look like, but it will be, it'll be more than what we recommended in terms of the reduction,
Okay,
closer to like 1.75.
1.5, between 1.5 and 2 is what you were
Yeah,
saying. Yeah,
Exactly.
okay,
What about counseling staff?
yeah, that's the other one.
The counseling staff remains unchanged at this point.
I do have one question, Dan. You kind of mentioned long-term subs a couple of times. I guess, can you speak to that a little bit? Because, while I like being on budget, I also, would be concerned, or if I were a community member hearing this saying, okay, so we're not putting full-time teachers in our classrooms, where to save money, we're using long-term subs. What does that mean?
Yeah.
So what type of classrooms or classes were we using long-term subs as hiring a full?
Mhm.
What does that look like,
Yeah.
right? The
Typically-
concern would be that,
Unqualified
Yeah.
individual in the
Yeah.
classroom, yeah. So anytime you have a long-term sub, you still have to treat it just like a teacher. So they have to have certain certifications. If they don't have an exact certification, you can actually get permits through the state of Michigan to prove that they are qualified to teach that class. So there's still a permitting process in place, when it is a long-term sub like that. So it's not like it's a traditional sub where it's just somebody off, edge of staff that you're bringing in for the day or for the week, and then they're just there for a brief period of time. When it's a long-term sub beyond 90 days, you actually have to get permitting for those individuals as well.
do you have any idea, like, what classes was that in, like, an elementary school classroom? Was that in like a chemistry class? Like, what kind of classes was that in?
I would say it was all over,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna run the gamut, it really across the board, elementary and secondary. Oftentimes, we're using long terms from, that to cover for maternity leaves. But to Dan's point, they all have to be certified.
Mhm.
And we're typically, that's where oftentimes we've been successful, where we maintain long-term, where we maintain consistent building subs that have certifications. Oftentimes, we can plug those individuals into long-term positions because they have some familiarity with the building. They have a certain certification. If they have that appropriate certification, we can plug them in, or we can plug one in from another building that might have that certification.
So the reason I asked, to me, it didn't sound like somebody's going on maternity leave, so we have a long-term sub for 3 months. It sounded like we didn't hire a teacher for a full school year to teach a class. We instead, that's why I was asking that. That's how it sounded to me, which
So a lot of
I
times,
was, yeah.
long-term subs are actually teachers that just don't have a job, but they're looking for something long-term and then using that as a way into a district. So you get a lot of actual teachers that are fully certified in the content area that they're teaching. So it goes through a traditional interview process. Like I just pulled some up from earlier this year. Back in December, we had an English long-term sub over at Bolin Park, and then a math and Spanish long-term sub as well.
Yeah.
So those are typically teachers, and then it's almost like an audition too, because it's like a student teacher. They're in the district, you get to learn them over a period of time, and then potentially hire them if there are vacancies.
And a long term is typically going to be if someone is out. If we're not gonna start the year with a long-term sub unless we know someone is coming back to fill that position.
Okay.
If it's a open position for the year, we're gonna hire for that position because that position is gonna be open for the year. Typically, a long-term is put in place if someone leaves mid-year,
Mhm.
whether again, a medical leave, or they just leave for another position or something along those lines, and we'll utilize that to fill out the remainder of the year. Or to start the year, if we know someone's coming back to that position. It's typically how we try to manage that long term. But if it's gonna be a full year scenario, then we'll hire for that position.
And we started that, I believe, around December is when we said internally, we need to freeze. If there are any vacancies, then let's find a long-term sub that is fully
So
qualified.
somebody who left
Mhm.
after November of last year, you tried to find some long-term
And
person.
just when someone leaves in that time frame too, like, and it's not a leave where they're coming back, it's just not a good time to post a position because the number of applicants that you get in a mid-year, a lot of people have their jobs, so
Yeah.
you don't get the applications that you would get if you posted it in the spring. So that's another strategy. So it's nice because you, like you said, you can kind of do the, like the trial with the person that's there, but then you also have the option to post in the spring.
No, that makes sense. Over the years, my kids have had long-term subs when their teachers have gone on maternity leave. It just, to me,
Sounded
it
like
sounded
it.
something very different. Yeah, that's what I was.
We had 4 that were identified.
Yeah, no.
Across the whole district.
Wasn't your strategy this year as well to help you, because you knew you were gonna be doing
Mhm.
staffing reductions, then it just gives you the flexibility, you know.
Take the vacancy when you can.
Yeah, to
Wait and see.
see where you need the vacancy as well. So,
So this, I believe I removed names here. So this is how we did it. We made, in the green here, you'll see those were all of the buyouts right there, and then corresponding salary and benefits. Down here, it was all the actual resignations beyond the buyout. And then what we did is we calculated what is the actual buyout total gonna be on an annual basis, and then we loaded in the blue all of the replacement costs. So we're trying to track it more holistically at this point. And then if we missed our mark, then you could dive in a little bit deeper and figure out exactly where you didn't hit. So in this case, though, I think we're trending in a good direction in terms of the total number of reductions. Coupled that with some savings on the audit, that's gonna help us tremendously.
No, Dan and Rich, I know you addressed the secretaries and you had money to bring back a couple more. How about the special ed? There were concerns from the board about special ed as well. Did we try and bring back some, or how are we doing with that?
Yeah, we added back 2 teacher consultant positions at the recommendation of the special education department that provided them some flexibility to
Okay,
add some additional coverage.
So those would be new
Within the
hires.
address. Those would be individuals that were moved out of special education into a gen ed position.
Okay.
So we moved them back
Gotcha.
and then backfilled those gen ed positions.
awesome.
Yeah, so that gives them the flexibility that they need to cover caseloads and so forth.
And then our secondary ELD, we had parapros, a reduction of 11, which was all secondary, which is not required. We're only reducing 4. So there is still gonna be some secondary ELDs, parapro support as well for those teachers.
Okay, well, any questions from anyone? Oh, yes.
I was curious that like color coded sheet we saw at the June meeting. I wondered if there's a possibility we could see that sheet with now, before, after.
Sure.
Just to sort of see it all in one place, particularly because we're gonna be looking back at this again.
Sure.
And I wanna sort of see the before after.
That's our plan with tracking
Yeah. as we
that
go forward.
original amount compared to where did we land.
I wonder if we could see that. like,
Yeah, we're gonna put that into like an actual report so
Yeah.
you can see
Yeah.
the changes from where we started.
So as we're continuing to look forward at other reductions, we know where we've already touched gently and
Correct.
touched not so gently.
Yeah.
And then another question I had, it might be more for you than you,
Mhm.
is, as folks left, did we consider doing any exit surveys or anything like that? We're getting data from our folks that resigned and retired about how their experience working here.
We did not that I'm aware of.
Something to consider for the future, I think.
Yeah, it would be a good practice in general, I guess.
Yeah.
But couldn't. I want to thank all of you guys. It takes a lot of effort going through all of these and not an easy thing to do. And I know you've sat in hours and hours with spreadsheets to actually and do that. And thank you so much for all the for sure. Anybody? Questions? If not, we can move forward. Yeah, so that takes us to public communication on non-agenda items. We have 2 here. Mr. Bo Taylor first. You can come and take a seat here. You have 3 minutes to address the board.
Ready, go. I hope you guys remember how important I told you my, what I have to say to you is, and take that to heart, because I mean it. No, you guys have a great district. You have an amazing community here. I don't know anything about the schools or anything, but I spent the last 2 weeks getting to know as many people as possible. And if anyone can walk up to every group in the Muslim community and find a different aspect and find something in common, Indian community as well, everybody else, or sing karaoke with the community, with the Filipino community, is me, because I've done it before. That's what I did for a living before, and it feels great to, and I feel revitalized to be able to engage people like that. And none of us are talking about the schools, because I ask them what their concerns are, and none of it is any of the stuff you're talking about. You know why? Because you have an administrator that's been here 10 years. And that's the one judge of a good functioning organization is a longtime executive that can manage all this and manage the community and you guys as well. And he's going to take some shots because I'm going to make fun of him along the way. But you guys are also a great community as well. Of board members, you are volunteers. No one's paying you to do this. No one's paying you to do this. You're doing this for free. And I'll tell you, there's some trolls in this community that come after everybody. And you know what? If I find one of them, I'll beat them with a keyboard and tell them to go back in their hole. I'm sorry, but no one in this community, I'll make sure it's not a felony. You'll stay in district court and you ain't got 12 members of these communities that's gonna put me away. But no, I'm saying the other thing that makes this a great organization is you guys get along. I walked in early and you guys were getting along. I know that's how you get over stuff. If you do, few people over here fighting with you people over here, you're not going to get anything done. But also see when it's time for to get business. I know that. I do it all the time. I go out and lampoon people left and right and then put up like this. And you're gonna have to do that at some point because we have some tough decisions because stuff outside this district is going to be forced upon us then next year. And next time, don't go so close to the target, man. That looks not real. I'm sorry. But when you make those decisions, look people in the face, get it done quick. Don't dilly-dally and take time and take 100 hours because you want to feel bad for these people. Because it's not about their feelings or your feelings. You need to look people in the face if you lay them off with dignity, get them out the door so you can get back to the business of the other 12,000 kids and the other 11,500 or so parents that that just trust you. 500 people maybe don't. They can take a shot at me. Go ahead. But I'm gonna go meet the community that you people come from, all of you. I haven't met your distinct community yet. And my invite's open. Only one person in this district isn't willing to talk to me. He knows who he is and he knows where to find me. Holy, I almost said the word. 2 minutes, 59 seconds. 2 minutes, I take it back, Dr. Machesky. 2 minutes, 59 seconds, 0.96. And I just criticize you for coming too close on the damn budget. And you know what? I am gonna take those yard signs I left out from the front of the administration building away. And I'm gonna walk over to Mary's campaign and put them out so she sees something walking out, so she knows I have a sense of humor. Have a good evening.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor. All right, Mr. Walter Cook.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So it's been a fun couple of weeks. I wanted to bring back something that I learned from the community, which is heard from several families that they're having trouble enrolling their kids in the district. One family was new to Troy, wanted to enroll their child into Bolin, and were told that it would be 2 weeks. This was last week, so that she would not be able to enroll for the web night or for the first day of school. And that surprised me because the district that I used to work for, only about 70% of the kids who were enrolled in the spring were enrolled in the same school the following year, not including sort of natural movers like 8th graders to 9th graders. And so I don't know if it's a resourcing issue. I know that there's a lot of turnover with secretarial staff, but it's a terrible first impression for families to want to move to Troy, want Troy District for their kids, and then told not to be able to enroll on the first day. The second story that I wanted to share was from a mom who her children were moved from one elementary school to another because of special needs. And she has not been able to get, when I spoke to her last week, responsiveness to sort of understand who the new teachers were. I know that was just posted yesterday at Power School. But I think for the special ed families who are impacted by the changes in county policy and moving kids to new schools, these were both children with nonverbal autism spectrum disorder, and they need the extra support. If there's anything the district can do to be responsive and supportive to those sorts of needs, I think that would go a long way towards helping, the district, keep all of the families that, live in Troy going to Troy schools. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, that ends of public communication. We have other, and in other, we have a few items.
Yeah.
First one is a bonded
Yeah,
update.
just wanted, Christine to share a little information as to where we are, with a couple of key projects, as we're down to the wire here. Welcoming students next Tuesday.
Happy welcome back, Zach. We are making great progress across the district with our bond projects. I had an opportunity to update most of you in July and show you some images. I would like to share that we have completed the track at Troy High School. So we have had quite a bit of work going on at Troy High for the last few years, including our concession stands work. Our work on that track has been completed with the exception of striping. So the track hasn't been striped yet. That will be done in the weeks to come. We'll arrange that to make sure that the folks are off the track so that we can go ahead and do that. But we wanted to complete it. We completed it in time for the scrimmage to take place last week on the black and silver. So that was wonderful. That's a nice, I think, opportunity for us to celebrate the completion of that athletic space at Troy High School. So now that we've gone through all of those spaces, that finishes us off. So that's great news. At Athens, we are doing some work on the dugouts in the baseball spaces. So that's underway. That'll take place over the next 3 to 4 weeks. Smith Middle School will be opening for students on Tuesday. It is open for staff right now. So our staff is in that building. Our partners at Barton Mallow are working very hard to make sure that it is in tip-top shape. It is still a work in progress, as any of us who have lived through construction understand. But the vast majority of that building is complete. They're putting some finishing touches on the entryway that will be done by Wednesday of this week. And then by the end of the week, we should be in great shape for our students to come back in. Many of our students and families had a sneak peek last week when they were coming in to pick up schedules and walk the building. We appreciate everyone's flexibility and patience with the dust in the building. And I mean that with more than just a little bit of dust, some boxes and some work that's going on. But we are very excited to welcome everyone there on Tuesday for school. And then finally, we've completed our bathrooms at our 4 elementary schools. So we're excited for our students to have those updated bathroom spaces as we start school and we're ready for them. So I think that's pretty much our update across, unless there's any questions about bond.
Any questions?
I just say I walked by Bowling Park Middle School. They are working away.
Yes. Yep. You see straight through that building right
Yeah.
now. So indications that there's a lot to come.
Yes.
Yes.
And the Bowling Park kids went to the Old Smith to pick up their schedule?
That's right. So
did
if you
that go?
drive down Donaldson, you'll see what is now interim Bowling Park. We won't call it new Bowling Park.
Do we
because
have a
that's
sign
to
there?
come. Yes, it's marked Bowling Park Middle
Okay,
School,
good.
so both the street sign and on the building.
Good.
And then inside of the building as well. So we've worked, Mr. Trudell has worked very closely with our Bowling Park team to help realize that vision for them. And I know there were a lot of questions as we were making the transition if Bowling would fit into that space, and they have. All of our Bowling classes are scheduled into that building as of right now. And we do have space at Smith, which is just 6 feet away, if they need to come over and borrow some of that space. So the great news is both Tony Morse, the principal at Bowling, and Ryan Brinks, the principal at Smith, have a really strong relationship and had lots of conversations about the opportunity to share that campus as we work into this school year. So it's great news.
Okay.
I just had a question. I know last spring you talked about kind of doing some work in the dugout at Athens with some drainage. And I think there was some drainage issues going on at Troy High as well in one of the fields. Has that been addressed? Is that why you're saying everything's done at Troy High?
Yep, so the drainage has been addressed. They've reseeded that outfield. They've been kind of watching that area to make sure that that drain is working well. And that's been something we've been monitoring. So it should be in good shape. We also had a small little dip in our field, our new auxiliary field in Troy High. We were working on that last year.
Is that
That
the turf?
seems to be good. The turf
Okay,
field,
okay.
yep. So we're monitoring all of those
Okay.
pieces as well. So they put fixes in place and we're testing this.
Okay.
I noticed the parking lot in Athens, right next to the LGI area is kind of cordoned off. What work is going on there?
I don't, it was fully functional today. Oh, the back,
No,
the
the back
back,
parking
the
lot.
receiving parking lot.
Yes.
That's where they're doing the work for the dugouts. So they have
Oh.
cordoned that off while they do some work on removing a dugout and they're putting a new one in, a new
Okay.
space. So they have a crane back there. They're doing that work. That'll take place over the next 3 weeks.
Okay, so that won't be available, but we have enough parking.
Correct.
So,
Yep, our new parking lot.
I
in the
noticed
front.
that, I noticed
So
that,
that's
it's a good bit
It
there.
is great.
Yes.
Yeah, very good. Good. Any other questions?
Very good. Any other questions?
Thank you for the update.
Yeah, you're
Thank you.
welcome. Great.
Thank you. Next on our agenda is our enrollment update.
Yeah, so we'll give a more complete update next week. After, after we get going here.
Did we hit our 11,887?
So take that, and then we can change it.
Oh, we got more?
So this is as of last week. I just want to kind of give you an idea of where we are, and this is really, and this kind of also, and I think dovetails on one of the public comment there. The
Right.
blue row on the left is where we were about this time last year.
Mhm.
So that shows you 26 or 25, August of 25. The purple was spring count. All right, so that's kind of where we were last spring. So you can see from fall to spring, we actually went up in enrollment. And then the green column is where we were as of the 13th.
Okay.
Okay, so you can kind of compare building to building. We are trending, and then on the far right are pending. It's not unusual for us at this point in time of the year to have a number of pending enrollments.
Mm.
Some of that is just information that is not complete. We won't assign a student to attend the first day of school, orientation, or anything along those lines unless all of the paperwork is complete. And so,
So we have 250.
so there's that they're working through, right? Currently, you can see kind of where that was as of the 13th. That number is gonna go down. I didn't check that number as of today, but that number is down as of today. I can get a more complete number as to where we are. There are some times where folks will start an enrollment and then it lies pending for quite a while. And then the folks in enrollment will be calling, reaching out and saying, your registration is showing pending.
You have to
Do you
fill in
need
some
help?
forms.
Yes.
or
What
To
do you
give us some information.
Right, and sometimes some of it is paperwork that families, it's maybe not easily accessible to some families, and so forth. So our enrollment folks are there to help provide guidance, direction, and provide, whatever support that they need. So you can see we still have quite a few pending. Yeah, that number is down as of now, but not unusual this time of the year. So we are, if you add the pending to the current, we're trending above our projected enrollment. Our projected enrollment was 11,869. So we'll come, it appears we'll come in well beyond that projected enrollment. Now, we have to keep in mind the projected enrollment is still less than last year's enrollment, but the better we can beat our projection, obviously that is revenue that we hadn't planned for. So you just kind of
What
get a sense
I
of where
noticed-
we are.
School of choice are all in pending. We've been working on.
Not all of those. That wouldn't be all of the school of choice. That's gonna be some of them. Because we had.
About 100.
Oh,
100
100
total.
okay.
Is that just like
Is that
they
why?
just haven't done their paperwork?
Or haven't, just haven't, or maybe they're looking at other school of choice options.
Okay.
Right, and they haven't made a decision.
Okay.
Or possibly it's just pending, it's sitting there, but they've already made a different decision and they haven't let us know
Got it.
that they've chosen to, go someplace else.
So what happens in that situation? Do we have a wait list that we can pull from?
The
for school
third
of choice?
week in August, if there are students on the wait list, the third week in August, we can invite those students in, those families in.
Okay.
Up to the number that we had advertised.
Sometimes in the summer, you get the IAE students that change their mind, so last minute you're filling in with the next person on the waiting list from the
Right.
schools of choice.
Or does that include IAEs as well?
I don't, some of those could
Yeah,
be,
but-
some of those could be in there.
Okay.
Yeah, and then you can see where we are with the IEs. We're pretty
Okay.
much on target from where we were last year.
Okay.
this gives you a kind of an idea
Yeah.
of where we are, where buildings are, leveling out
Mhm.
and so forth. I will update this as of Friday and send it back to you.
I appreciate
Okay,
it.
so update that as Friday, this Friday. We'll ask, happy to do that and then send that to you.
I do have a question for Dan, though. I noticed that in your 25-26 budget, you only had 12,069 students. But according to this, there's 12,100 plus.
Here's a funded amount because they take some from the prior year, so like that's the actual FTE that they're funding there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, so they take the spring of last year, but that would be higher.
It's a blended count.
Yeah, blended count, right? Yeah, I'm curious why that's lower.
So we'll send it out to you Friday. Okay?
We have an opportunity to see sort of class size impact of our restructuring. I know elementary is always a sensitive issue for you. I know there's some sections been
Yeah.
cut so that if we get feedback from the community once school starts and
So
moms
set-
and dads walk in their classrooms.
So September workshop.
Great.
Will be about Chris and Christine will do a deep dive with you, both elementary and secondary.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
That's on the agenda for September.
Are we making a conscious effort for virtual and Inspire to reduce those, or is why? I mean, it's a big-
Those are numbers that are going to increase over the years, so they're gonna start low. And then you can see they grow in May because as students are leaving more traditional programming, they're transitioning into less traditional programming. So they're gonna start the year lower and then they're gonna grow.
Okay, so
As we
you're
draw
not,
more students.
you're not concerned about
No.
where those are? Okay.
Because they're actually pretty close to where we were this time last year.
Okay.
What is a CIT?
Oh, the SEIT?
That's TCTs,
CPT was about that.
EIT, I do know.
Okay.
Good
Yeah.
question. I'll find out. You know what that stands for, Dan? SEIT? Special ed, like,
In training.
I'll find out what.
Bad news.
Too many
I think
acronyms.
it's.
We'll find out what it is. Too many acronyms.
Yeah.
Well, there's 26.
So we'll get that updated on Friday to see where you
Thank
are. And then lastly, under strategic plan, just want to let you know that, Judy, we won't take credit. Judy's been in touch with Debbie Stair at MASB. We have been assigned an individual who will be working direct, it will not be Debbie, it'll be a different individual who's working with us. I have a conversation with him scheduled for Thursday this week. Our goal is to bring him into the September workshop for the purpose of meeting the board. And he's going to want to just want to hear from you all what the expectations you have and so forth. And from there, we'll build out a calendar.
Is it
Moving forward.
No.
Do you know who was it?
No.
Gary,
Yeah.
Gary something or other. That's not a name I was familiar with.
Okay.
So, okay, just, but I want you to know that that's in the works.
Thank
Okay?
you. Thank you. Wonderful. Any questions or comments for Rich on any of these topics? All right. If none, we can go to the other, and go around the table. Anybody want to go first?
I know.
Ms. Potts, do you want to go first?
Not a whole lot. Summer, I can't believe summer it's not over yet. It's not over yet. But I bet the next school year is coming. I just want to say thank you to administration for working so hard about this with these budget reductions and things. I know that was really, really tough. So I really appreciate all the hard work. This election season's coming up, so it's gonna be an interesting board and, a year from now, a few months from now. It's the middle part, even. We still have to figure out how we're gonna celebrate that. How many years? 17.
18.
18.
Hey, you guys are ready. I'm prepared. I can feel like I can go. You guys are well prepared.
Got a chance to see some teachers at the welcome back picnic. That was fun. I did not get the memo about it being possibly outside, so I was sweating to death. It was a little warm, but it was a lot of fun. So I'm excited about the new school year. And I'm excited to see about, now I'm gonna have a junior in high school and a 8th grader. I had to think about that for a second, so I'm excited about this. ready to start for another school year.
Good, wonderful. Thank you, Ms. Fox. Dr. Melton?
On July 30th, I attended the back to school legal workshop hosted by MASB. It was very good.
Yeah.
Their online classes are always very good. And then 2 weekends ago, I was at the Summer Institute for MASB and took several classes there. And again, like very quality instructors. So I kind of chuckle because a lot of when you get to talk to other board members, you realize like what you have.
The camaraderie and the
So I
connections,
always
even if
walk
we
away-
disagree with it sometimes.
So I always walk away with a level of gratefulness after those conferences. But also the amount of knowledge, being able to talk to, like other board members that have years of service and that are instructing these classes, I think is extremely valuable. So, and from what I see, like our board, I know that's one of our goals is to pursue education so that we can make the best decisions. And the fact that we achieved what we did, as kind of like blended newer and older board members, I think is impressive because there's so many districts that's just not a priority, let alone a goal. So I think you guys all should be proud of yourselves. And we should be proud in the board that we've done that work.
Thank you,
That's
Dr.
it.
Melton. Mr. Huff?
Not much. I'm just very excited for the school year to start. Get the kids out of my house. They need some structure in their life.
And you need some space. That also helps, obviously.
That's it.
Okay. Ms. Elise?
I attended a MASB Legal Trust Fund Board of Trustees meeting last Tuesday. A school district came asking for funds. So it's Faust versus Galesburg, Augusta Community Schools. It initiated as a complaint about a vote yes committee using library space. The state ultimately said that was okay because they used it like any other community group would. But then the state has now, the Department of State has now said that the signs that the district had that had bond proposal and the language vote May 5th on it was a violation of the Campaign Finance Act laws. And so it's a
So
pretty.
it's not considered informative.
So they said essentially the word vote May 5th was encouraging people to vote yes, and that the sign itself didn't have other information on it other than what the bond proposal was and to vote May 5th. And so the trust fund, we voted unanimously to give the district the funds for the administrative portion at this point, because it's a significant enough issue going forward for all districts,
Yeah,
so.
I mean, it just seems that it said vote yes.
That would be a problem. Yeah, vote yes or vote no would be a problem. Just
Yeah.
saying vote, I thought it was
Yeah.
informative, and it's not persuading anybody.
Yeah.
So that's the, yeah, so we voted to give them up to certain funds for the administrative portion, then if it goes past that,
When
they'll.
did this happen? Do you know? Because in our legal workshop, they never mention anything about that.
But this is-
Usually MASB does mention these things.
I don't remember a date, but it's gonna be pretty recent,
Okay.
so,
It hasn't gone far enough.
it doesn't, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So it's usually at the beginning of the process, that's when they come to the legal trust fund to seek funds to continue. So the district has until October 14
To file.
to issue a response to the state. So
Okay,
it is
that's not a
like,
done deal.
it is very much now ongoing and fresh, so.
Okay.
So that's the So that's my only comment.
That's my only other, yeah.
Ms. Sandra?
I too am ready for school to start. I love my kids, but I've been cruise directing all summer. I know. So let's go. And I'm excited to be a secondary parent again, a middle school.
Ooh.
parent. I took like a 9-year
No
break.
more elementary.
I still have an elementary. Now sixth grade. Come back. And in terms of our own professional development, Oakland County School Board Association provides regular professional development for members of boards. FYI, the September 30th meeting, Dr. Maletko, our new state school superintendent, will be the presenter. So wouldn't it be fun if we all legally attended that meeting to make sure that our thoughts were with him as he speaks to the school board trustees in Oakland County. So put that on your calendar. I know a mailer already came out in email, but it'll come 5 more times, I'm sure. So if you can, please make it. And I started the digital delusion. There's something to share. I actually started with other ways to learn about it and an audiobook too. But one of the things that I saw that I think is interesting, might be something to think about, is for parents too, is the author, who's a neuroscientist, former teacher, said, if there's one thing you can do right now to help your kids do better with the digital stuff, to print one thing to do. Like, don't do all their homework online. So just something to think about.
Mhm.
One piece of paper can make a difference in that way. So that's all I have for today.
All right, thank you. Dr. Philippart?
The only thing I would say is I'm gonna just build on what, Ms. Potts said, and, you know, really want to thank, the district. And you guys did budget work with all of the retirements. You know, the HR group was, you know, having to do interviews to hire. I mean, you know, while, others were kind of off relaxing, I think your team really amped up its work this summer. So, you know, I just really want to say thank you. I appreciate that, and I hope you can find some time in the fall, all the people who worked all summer to, you know, take a little bit of time off.
Appreciate it. Yeah, it was definitely a team effort, but
Okay.
just July was far more busy than it is normally.
Yeah. Oh,
Normally pretty quiet around here, but July was active,
Yeah, like that.
so.
Dr.
Oh,
Wachowski? You're-
Special education itinerant services. That's the idea.
Oh, all right.
So.
Special education.
Itinerant,
Services.
I'll find out a little bit more about that.
It feels
In trade.
wow.
Yeah, about services, yeah.
Services.
Special, yeah, early on kiddos.
Okay.
Opening was great today. I know that, the link was shared with you. By all means, please,
looked at it, yeah.
great energy, a lot of new folks, new faces in the audience. Lot of fun. We have the, Mesa sponsoring the message went out, food truck at 20th of this week, Thursday at Troy High. I know many of us will be stopping by there, so by all means, please, if you're available, feel free to stop by. Otherwise, we are off and running.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. I have a couple of things. One, we all know the election results. Our millage didn't pass. Something that I've been talking to a bunch of people, a few things that came to our mind, of course, the current economic conditions and people's pocketbooks definitely had an impact on that. Several families I've talked to were saying they would have supported it if it was for Troy. I think they had some kind of a distrust for coming through the county level. There is that, something for us all to think about for the future. And then another one that we can all probably think about is, some people have thought of it as like a slush fund because they didn't know what we're going to spend that money on. So maybe for the future, we could try and do a better job in explaining to the community if a fund has been, I mean, if you're asking for a millage, how do we intend to use it? I know it's hard to quantify it, but at least gives us direction. It's probably something that came out of my discussions with different people, something for us to think about for future and do that. The other thing I wanted to bring up is as we are trying to save and trying to reduce costs, I do want to bring up, us as the board tends to travel for learning and going out of the state and so on. So I wanted to bring it up for discussion for all of you, if you want to try and maybe reduce that or halt that for the future year or so, or whenever it is that we need to. Just wanted to bring it up, no forcing, no, nothing. It's just a discussion topic that something could bring up. I would definitely love to do that myself, is not do any additional cost for training, for our own trainings. We have plenty of online opportunities as well, and we can do in-state, which doesn't cost as much. So something that we can think
Well,
about.
one thing you might want to consider is it, and this, the boards in the past have done this, is rotator.
Okay,
So
Then-
don't send as many people to a particular NASB, let's say.
conference or whatever.
Maybe we're not sending 4 people, we're sending 2.
or one.
And so this year, these 2 individuals are going to NASB, these couple are going to advocacy, these folks are going, the in-state one is really not all that
Okay.
much of an issue. And then rotate it around too.
Yeah.
I mean, that's something to consider, because I do believe, back to the learning piece, I do believe there's merit in being represented at those conferences. There's a great deal that you can bring back.
Mhm.
And likewise, we have a great deal, I think, to share with others. And
Right.
so.
And I would
It doesn't
say
have to be
there's a
cold turkey.
difference between doing everything online and actually speaking with people. And so
Yes.
one of the things that I was able to bring back from the conference was onboarding process. And Audra and Stephanie and Isa had the benefit of that.
Mhm.
And so they onboarded much better and faster as new trustees than Matt and I did just 2 years prior. And so that meant they could get to work faster. So, but I do agree with you. I thought about the same of saying, it's just having a smaller number of people going, but there is sometimes you have to go see things somewhere else to be able to bring them back. And as is something was mentioned during community, we get paid $100 a year. And so we are providing a community service. But we provide it better if we can get the education and the collaboration.
I hear you as well, because
But I think it's fair for us
it's
to
a
say,
balance, yes.
Yeah.
I also get a lot of experience and knowledge from talking to other board members
Yeah.
and what they have done in their district and what kind of problems they have faced, more than even the presenter, to be honest. Sitting next to somebody and then going maybe to coffee with somebody and then realize, oh, this is how you do it. And that's an interesting way to do it, kind of thing. So,
We can be
Yeah.
responsible, be budget conscious, but still engage.
yeah.
So I think there's a way in which that can happen.
Mhm.
And I would say this, I mean, you do need to be very conscious of the optics. I will say back in 2011, 2012, when we were really cutting to the bone, the board made the decision not to do any out-of-state travel for that
Right.
time, really to send a message to the community we understand, I mean,
Mhm.
because we were making some very, very painful cuts. You may monitor that as you go forward,
Correct.
because the subsequent years where, I mean, you don't know, if the funding is going to come through, you don't know, what other unfunded mandates might be put on you. And so, I would definitely just kind of keep that as,
Yeah.
something to discuss as you look
Mhm.
at what you're facing in the future.
Yep. Mhm. And I've also attended the legal workshop. It's always very useful. It's always good to know what are all the different legal challenges that potentially we may encounter, which other districts may have encountered, and how, or maybe doing preemptive and not have to fall in the same trap another district has done and so on.
Yeah.
So that was really good, very useful as well. I know I saw you too online. Yeah, that's really good. And I do want to add also, like Nancy said, thank you so much. People think you work only 9 months in a year,
Right.
but you really work more than 12 months in a year, so I appreciate it.
We do.
I appreciate everything you've done, and especially
It's
during
a team
this summer, none of you had really a summer break, so thank you so much.
I appreciate that.
The only other additional comment I want to make about the enrollment is there is, you may address this as well, is there is a chain, the building. The enrollment team first need to be reached out to try and get some of those addressed, maybe the building, and then come to you if they need any help, and then maybe we can help. There's an impatience.
Yeah, by all means, if there are community members that are struggling for whatever reason, we need to know that.
Yeah.
And happy to intervene, and if it's a matter of staffing,
Mhm.
then we can address that. If it's a matter of,
Yeah.
support with respect to getting documents, maybe there's a manner in which we can help support that as well with our
Mhm.
local representatives, and so forth. So we certainly, it behooves all of us to get families in as quickly, as possible. It's better for them, it's better for the district, makes a more smooth opening for everyone. So we all benefit from that. So we certainly want to be working towards that end.
And there are 250 families here, 250, so it'll take a few days maybe to take care of all of those. So please be patient. That's for sure. Thank you. That's it. All I have, when our next workshop is September 1st, I think,
Back in this room.
back in this room at 6 p.m. And our next meeting is September 24th, is 22nd, Tuesday at the boardroom. All right, that's it. Service is filling, meeting adjourned. 7:11. Okay. Here.